the Goffstown Zoning Board. It is March 3rd, 2026. If you'd stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we're going to, the board, everybody review the minutes?
Did? Didn't see anything.
Okay, so for the evening, the two of you are voting members.
Motion to accept the minutes.
Second.
Any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, I'm just going to do the introductions and the instructions, and then I will be recusing myself for this case. Goffstown Zoning Board is an elected board of 5 members and up to 5 alternates appointed to the zoning board. Currently, the board has 5 elected members and 4 alternates. Unfortunately, we need our 2 tonight. If anyone is interested in serving on the ZBA, please contact the planning or zoning office to the town for more information. The board has a posted agenda. We only have 1 case tonight, so I'm not wasting everybody's time. For each application, the board will decide to approve with conditions, deny, or continue the public hearing to a later meeting. You are welcome to watch the deliberations this evening, or you can call the zoning department at 603-497-8990, extension 815, to get the results. For an applicant's request to be approved, there must be an affirmative vote of at least 3 members. An applicant can request a continuance if there is not a full 5-member board. So I want you to know this is only going to be a 4-member board this evening.
Yep.
If anyone is aggrieved by the decision made by the ZBA tonight, you have the right to appeal to the Superior Court or the New Hampshire Housing Appeals Board. However, before appealing, you must request a rehearing with this board to preserve your right to appeal. Rehearing requests must be filed within 30 days of the decision and state all the reasons why the decision was unlawful or unreasonable. Failure to request a rehearing may forfeit your ability to appeal. Okay, so I am going to recuse myself. Jason is going to take over.
Yep.
You guys should all have these in your packets already, but it's easier to walk it through. Thank you. Let me draw about this first.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Yeah, don't trip over the board. Jump over here. The chapter power.
I did say. I did. I said if you didn't have a full board.
Okay, so as Denise had mentioned, there is not a full 4-board member, I'm sorry, a full 5-board member tonight. 5-member board, there we go, tonight. So I just want to make sure, are you okay to proceed, or did you want to continue?
We're going to proceed, Mr.
Very
Chair.
good, thank you. Let me read this for the minutes. So this first hearing, Andrew Cassidy, owner, and Shaughnessy Allard PLLC, Brett W. Allard Esquire, applicant, are seeking a variance to allow for the construction of a 2-unit duplex on a vacant lot that has 1.42 acres, whereas 3 acres is required per section 3.11 sub A sub 2, the table of principal uses, and section 4.3 item 3, table of dimensional regulation of the Goffstown zoning ordinance. The property is located at Henry Bridge Road, map 26, lot 19-1, zoned agricultural.
All right. Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Motion for regional impact?
Thank you. We have a motion for no regional impact. I assume no regional impact?
Yes, motion for no regional impact.
Second.
Second by Len. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Gentlemen.
Hi, good evening. My name is Matt Peterson with Keach Norris & Associates, back again representing the variance application that is in front of the Goffstown Goffstown Zoning Board tonight regarding the parcels at 2619 and 2619-1 along Henry Bridge Road in Goffstown, New Hampshire. Also with me tonight is the owner applicant, Andrew Cassidy. He's owned this property for approximately 15 years so far to date. Just so the board understands, we have made some changes to the application. That's why now it looks as two separate applications. Each lot stands on its own for variances now. It's no longer a combined site plan. It removes a lot of the variances that were out there. It obviously changes the density that we also have in front of you tonight. So I hope you will see that we heard what you guys said at the meeting during the deliberation last time. My client went back to the drawing board with us. We looked at what made sense on site here, and that's why we're in front of you again tonight. As outlined last hearing, you'll see on the aerial photo, these parcels are located along the north side of Henry Bridge Road. It's approximately halfway between Mass Road and Goffstown Back Road. You'll also notice from the aerial and previous abutter comments that there are commercial industrial type uses along the north side of Mass Road. There is also a 24-hour commercial tow lot directly across the street from us that you will see in those photos that I handed out there as well. That was brought up by the abutter last time. I called it unknown lot last time. It was made to my attention that it was a tow lot. And a mixed bag of other uses surrounding this parcel, including the previous St. Orange septic removal business that was located just north of this parcel. Now if you take a look at the tax map that I included in your package there. You'll notice again, kind of mismatched zoning in this area as well. We have some agricultural zone land across the street from us. As we said, this 24-hour tow lot is currently in the agricultural district. I just want everybody aware of that because they're telling me that is the big hamper to my property doing residential. So that is in the agricultural district. I'm not sure if they went through planning board and that. I'm sure you can explain later, but it's purchased about in '88, which there was definitely zoning, Goffstown zoning in place at the time of that purchase. But again, that is in the agricultural district directly across from us. We also have residential 1. We also have smaller quarter-acre density throughout the property there. So again, we brought this to your attention last time. I think we all know that this is kind of a transition where we're going from the industrial up on Mass Road to more of the residential on Goffstown Back Road. And this is kind of the in-between piece here that we see basic transitions from the industrial to the residential. Take a look at the existing conditions plan. As I said, we have 2 applications in front of you now tonight instead of one for each parcel. Due to these parcels, we have the river behind us. We had, basically when Andrew came to us, we said, listen, there's a lot of stuff on this piece as far as the river, shoreland, wetlands, slopes, all that. It would be very good for you to go get an existing conditions plan. You've owned this thing for 15 years anyway, why not know what you got? It helps me to present to you guys what the land looks like and what the hardships are on the land. So we have parcel 2619, that is the existing parcel to the left. That is 3.8 acres in size. It has an existing single-family home on the lot currently today. The other lot, 2619-1, is approximately 1.422 acres in size and is currently undeveloped. Again, that sits in the agricultural district, would be allowed a 4, 5, 6 bedroom single family house. Right now those are going for $650 to $850 in Goffstown. So you'd be talking a homeowner with a substantial nice house on this location here compared to what we are coming forward to ask for a variance. So again, we are allowed to use the property for a reasonable use, but we're also allowed to come and ask for variances that we think fits into the area much better than doing this. And from what we heard from the abutters last time, putting potentially negative people across the street, they're going to call and complain and look at different things that are going on there. So this would stay in my client's ownership. These would be rental duplexes. Put something in Goffstown, giving some more housing needs to it. I think one of the things we keep hearing out there is that we need housing. You got to be careful. We have a lot of garden style housing right now. We need more of duplexes, single family, different types of uses so that people can come with a little different size families, not just single, professionals, kind of a mix on stuff. So again, I give Andrew credit for coming back and looking at this from a different perspective. So for the variances, we'll start with 2619, I think is what you went first,
Dash
correct?
1.
Dash 1 first, okay, perfect. So 2619-1, because we removed the other duplex, the common driveway, all the parking, and we split these as two separate uses now. We got rid of all the variances except one on that lot. That lot would be, I would not be here tonight if that lot had 3 acres of area. It has the 300 feet to put a duplex. It's allowed to put a duplex in this area based on if you had 3 acres and 300 feet of frontage. So the only variance I'm asking for tonight on this lot here is to allow a duplex on that lot, which is section 3.11A-2, is to allow a 2-family use in the agricultural district. It removes the need for a variance for sewer on it, because we no longer have 3 units anymore on it. And it removed the number of dwellings multifamily on it as well, because again, it's allowed a duplex now, it just does not have the 3 acres to allow the duplex. So what I'd like to do is go through some of the criteria on that one there. So first off, granted the variance will not be contrary to public interest, will be consistent with the spirit of the ordinance. I want to make one thing clear. Last meeting, it was kind of discussed that somebody had read the Goffstown master plan, and that's what they were kind of basing their decisions on. That's not the jurisdiction of the zoning board. The zoning board is to look at this from these 5 criteria that we're asking. We're allowed to ask for variances. That's been set up by the state, by the courts, many, many, many times right now. Back in, like, give you an example, 96, Manchester, we asked for a variance to do a duplex on a lot. They denied us because we were creating our own hardship, they said. We just got that variance 3 years ago because that has been changed from what you do now. So this board is to look at basically criteria and do we or do we not meet those. Obviously, there's things as part of being a member of the town and stuff like that that you are looking for to keep consistency throughout the town as the town develops. So granting variance would not be contrary to public interest. For a variance to be contrary to public interest, the proposal has to conflict with the ordinance so much that it violates ordinance basic zoning objectives. And that was done by Farmer versus City of Keene in 2009. And the relevant tests are whether the proposal will alter the essential character of the neighborhood, and change what is down there, and whether it threatens the public health, safety, or welfare. Because it is in the public interest to uphold the spirit of the ordinance, the Supreme Court has held that these 2 criteria are related. If you meet one test, you almost certainly meet the other. As such, the applicant addresses these 2 criteria together. The proposal will not alter the essential character of the neighborhood or threaten public health and safety. As discussed above, this area of town along the border of agricultural, industrial, and residential districts is an extraordinarily mixed-use area. Large-scale development is encouraged in nearby industrial district, and medium densities are encouraged in the nearby residential 1 districts. As such, this site is not situated in the center of the agricultural district, far removed from significant development and utilities, but more in a transitional zone between the industrial, residence 1, and agricultural districts. Indeed, the zoning ordinance posts that municipal utilities may not be present or anticipated in the agricultural district, but the subject lots are tied into municipal water due to the close proximity to the busy developed Mass Road corridor. As such, the proposed project is consistent with the essential character of the mixed-use area and will not alter the same. Therefore, granting the variance would not be contrary to the public interest. The overreaching purpose of prohibiting multi-family uses, controlling of the density of units, and requiring connection to public sewer is to ensure the lots will have significant buildable area and significant areas for sanitary facilities, and to reduce or eliminate overcrowding or congested development. And I think that is one of the things that this board had some concerns with last time, was overcrowding and too much on the lot. So again, I believe we brought that down now to 1 duplex if I had the acreage would work. While short of the zoning ordinance subject requirements, each lot has significant area for proposed duplexes, septic systems, and related infrastructure, as demonstrated in the enclosed plans. Further, duplexes will be serviced by municipal water, which means as a practical matter that less lot area is required to accommodate the proposed development because the applicant will not need to hold the typical 75-foot well radius from a septic. So typically when you do a house that has well and septic, you have to take out the well radius out of your lot calculation. So if you had a 2-acre lot and I had a well on it, I have to take out that 75-foot radius and take it out and not count it when I go to the state and say, does this lot have enough area to support a septic system? We do not have a well, we have town water, we have plenty of room to support the septic on site. As such, there is not currently any overcrowding or congestion, and therefore will not be in any in the neighborhood if the variances are granted. There will be no adverse impact or injury to the public rights of the variances are granted according to the spirit and ordinance intent. The subject matter are observed and the variances are granted. So that was number 1 and number 2. Would you like me to just run through them each, or we're going to go back? These are going to be similar for both lots, obviously. I mean, there's a slight difference in my variance, but they're the same arguments if you guys are.
I think because they're split, we should go through them for each one.
Okay.
That way everything's covered.
Yep. So granting the variance would do substantial justice. Again, the Supreme Court has held that measuring substantial justice requires balancing public and private rights. Again, you should be looking at this from the town of Goffstown and from our standpoint. We're not just saying you look at our standpoint, but you gotta look at it from both. Perhaps the only guiding rule is that any loss to the individual that is not outweighed by the gain to the general public is an injustice. So if it's denied and there's no outright gain to the public, that doesn't make a lot of sense to what this court case has said. And this was Harborside versus Paradise Residence Hotel, 2011. There is no injury to the public if the variances are granted. There is no gain to the public if the variances are denied. There is only loss to the applicant and the public if the variances are denied. The proposed improvements will generally revitalize the property and make good use of its underutilized portions, allowing the addition of the unit on it, which is beneficial to both applicant and public. Therefore, the balance of equity weighs in the favor of granting the variances. Further, as discussed above and below, the proposal is appropriate for the area. Granting variances for requests that are appropriate for the area does substantial justice. And that was the U-Haul of New Hampshire versus City of Concord in 1982 case. Therefore, granting the variance would do substantial justice. So that's number 3. Number 4, the value of surrounding properties will not diminish. If the variances are granted, the lot will remain consistent with the residential and mixed-use character of the other lots in the neighborhood, such that there will be no adverse effect on surrounding property values. The applicant is holding all applicable wetland setbacks and is not seeking to build any new structures within the abutter setbacks, such that values of abutting properties would not be compromised. Therefore, surrounding properties will not be diminished. Moreover, the variance granted, the applicant will be required to seek site plan approval for the multifamily, further ensuring that everything is met. We'll also add that we had submitted, which I assume the board all got, was a February 23rd Realtor letter going through that this would not affect the surrounding values, so that ties to this section of our argument. And then the last one for this is number 5, literal enforcement of the ordinance will result in unnecessary hardship. Unnecessary hardship will be found when the subject parcel has special conditions or circumstances that distinguish it from other properties in the area. Number 1, there is no fair and substantial relationship between the purpose of this ordinance and the specific application of the ordinance as applied to the property. And 2, the proposed uses are reasonable. So to the first one, the existing lots are distinguished from other properties in the area because most of the agricultural zone land in town is north of Mass Road and north of the Scatterquag River, in areas where municipal water and sewer are not available. There is also a second pocket of agricultural zone land south of Mass Road running towards the Bedford line. The subject lots are one of only a very slim minority that are sandwiched north of the Mass Road but south of the river and are tied into municipal water. This location and orientation, in combination with the unique impact of the wetlands and sites, the existing single-family dwellings, and the fact that 2 separate but abutting lots, and the fact that the 2 separate abutting lots of record are currently held in common ownership, render the subject parcel particularly unique in their environment. Owing to these special conditions, there is no fair and substantial relation between the purpose and the application of the zoning ordinance subject requirements here. Proposed duplexes are consistent with the mixed-use character as developed in portions of Mass Road corridor, and particularly suitable for the site due to the location of the transition zone between the industrial, residential 1, and agriculture district. Both lots have significant area for the proposed duplexes, septic systems, driveways, parking areas. Since the lots are tied in municipal water, no additional land is needed for dedicated to the well, resulting in no well radius buffers. There will be no overcrowding and congested development, but the variance are granted. The improvements will generally revitalize the property, make good use of the underutilized portions, allowing the addition of the units into the Goffstown housing stock. Indeed, the lots will comply with maximum building coverage. None of them go over that. We added parking so that there is no issues with people having parking to go on site. So in other words, notwithstanding strict application of the restriction of the zoning ordinance, this property is particularly well suited for the proposed project consider other projects and properties in the area. Accordingly, the proposed purposes that the zoning ordinance seeks to achieve and the harms that it seeks to prevent are not in any way threatened in the variances we are granting. Therefore, even though the project requires these variances, the purpose of that ordinance seeks to protect is preserved. All the foregoing reasons set forth here on the proposal is a reasonable use. That is all I have for that lot,
All right.
which would be number 19-1.
Thank you very much. As you mentioned, there was correspondence that was submitted to the town. It is entered into the information, so we don't need to read it in full. So thank you for pointing that out. I'll ask you to step back for just a moment, and unless you guys have questions first.
I have a couple questions,
Sure.
if I may. One thing that I noticed in the application is that the property falls within the flood hazard district. I'm assuming because there is nothing on here for this hearing tonight, that everything is in order with this construction to comply with any additional requirements that would put on this property in addition to being in the agricultural zone?
Correct. So we did put that line on the plan, and that
Yep.
line is up in this location here, and we are staying out of all that. One of the reasons we did actually stay away from this down parcel here, this actually is not in the floodplain, which is surprising to me because it's so much lower down. I kind of thought it would be, but you know, we put it up here. It's only a couple feet off. This elevation's 182, and this elevation's just over 182. So it's close. So that's why I kept the houses up on the hill. So no.
Okay, perfect, thank you. And I guess this is, you could take this as two parts. Last time you were here, the property across the street and another abutter had concerns. A different abutter had concerns about possible encroachment along their property by one of the units that was proposed. And then the property across the street was concerned about how more people coming in and out of these proposed units would be too much traffic in this sort of turnaround. As many of us who travel this corridor know, cars going both ways kind of fly around to the bend in both directions, including the people who would enforce such speed limits. So I just want to...
One comment.
So yes, so what we did from the last application here is the existing driveways right here. So we were gonna have them all come out one location here. Again, we've split the applications now. Again,
Yep.
hearing what people were saying here, minimizing the amount of people coming in and out that's there. So now we just have one location here for this, which meets our site distance both directions. And then when we met originally on this on TRC, they asked us to slide this a little bit towards the north. That's why we did, towards the east, to make a little bit better site distance. So that's why we did that as well. So again, by breaking this up, getting rid of the units in the middle there, we're trying to minimize the amount of people coming in and out.
Okay, perfect. So I appreciate that you addressed not only the board's concerns, but the abutting properties' concerns.
And let me just say one thing on the abutting, and I don't have all the answers for the abutter here, Eddie said last time, but I asked my surveyor to pull the plan, and he pulled the plan that my office had actually done. Mike Dahlberg did the plan. He now works for TF Moran in 2020. And the deeds we were referencing are the 1871 deed and the 1877 deed. So my surveyors have stamped the plan. I don't read plans, I'm sorry, sir, I'm not the surveyor, I'm the engineer, but I did look, and that's what we've chased our deeds back to 1871 and 1877, and that's what we're showing. So we believe what we've stamped is correct. If it's not, they can fight us on it. Outside this, it's not kind of here.
Perfect, thank you.
Charlie? Andy?
One question on the hardship criteria. One of the arguments we usually hear on hardship criteria, special conditions of the property that make it unique.
Correct.
Things like ledge, things like wetlands, things like boundaries that make it impossible to do it any other way. What I see that you seem to be arguing here for hardship is the location itself.
No, we said all those exact same things. We said, based on the floodplain that was here, based on the wetlands that we picked up on here, and the wetland setbacks that we had, based on the steep slopes that we had here, the uniqueness of it, and then we added, it's also located in an area that we think is a hardship. So we just, I think those put a Honestly, I think those are pretty, you can pick on almost every single piece of property. New Hampshire has ledge and wet and that. I think a lot of your hardship comes to where your location is in my
But what distinguishes it from any other property in that area?
A 24-hour tow service across the street that you saw a sign there that 11:58 at night is lit up. So the location is hugely what the hardship on that. Again, this is a residential zone lot. I'm allowed to put a single-family home for a family. $650,000 to $850,000 4 to 6 bedroom house. Does that make sense on this lot, or is that the hardship? And that's what I'm saying is the hardship, and that's why we're coming with a duplex on this. The location does not allow us to do what would go there. I mean, shouldn't say that. I'm sure I can, let me come back. I could 100% sell an $850,000 house there today. You are 100% right. This gentleman's not gonna want that across the street. These people are gonna put their fence up, their dog yards, all that, and then this guy's lights are gonna be on at 12 o'clock at night, and they're gonna call the town and say, why is his lights on? And then he's gonna get a letter from the town saying, you need to go get a site plan, you need to turn your lights off at 11 o'clock at night. We're coming with a client that's gonna has owned it for 15 years, is gonna rent these units as duplexes, and that's what he's looking at. Again, if you deny us tonight, put on the market, sell as a single family home, and it is what it is. You know, I mean, I get it, but we think we're putting our right foot forward.
I mean, as I say, it just seems to me that, you know, any location, just merely the fact of the location is the condition that you're arguing, and it does not distinguish it from any other property in the area, which
I
is
mean,
usually.
I would 100% disagree with you, and what I would love you to do is please look at the pictures that I provided here. This is at the mouth of the driveway. When you get to the mouth of the driveway, you are staring directly into a junkyard lot. And when you're standing in the front yard of that property, which is the second photo here, you are staring at a rundown garage. I'm not sure many agricultural districts, that these are the circumstances that you would be presented with. And like we stated, I think the best argument is the zoning map. You know, highlighting the fact that we have 3 different zonings within such a clustered area, not only that, but my personal abutters. 3 of my abutters are commercial industrial flux abutters, 3 are residential 1, and 3 are agricultural. I mean, if that's not unique, I just very strongly disagree with that assessment that you hold.
Understood.
Anyone else?
I have a couple questions. So I agree that the public interest and the spirit of the ordinance, they really do go together, but I don't think we could just skip the spirit of the ordinance and just do one of the two. I think we need to talk a little bit about the spirit of the ordinance, because it's part of this equation. And the municipal guide's pretty clear that when it comes to the spirit of the ordinance, that we're encouraged to look at the master plan, because it is the origin document that speaks to a lot of what we're trying to figure out here. And in 674-17, the purpose of the zoning ordinance, the state's really clear that the zoning ordinance shall be designed to prevent overcrowding of land to avoid undue concentration of population. And we have our own zoning ordinance that is sort of built off of that. Section 1.3 talks about the purpose of the ordinance, and the ordinance is designed and adopted for the following. Section 4 is to avoid undue concentration of population, prevent overcrowding of land, to control regulated congestions on the street. Section 6 is to conserve natural beauty and open space. And then Section 8 goes back to the master plan. It says to encourage an appropriate and coordinated use of land, blah, 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 as envisioned by the master plan. The master plan on page 5, under the housing strategies, the very first bullet point is maintain Goffstown's housing character by sustaining existing single-family regulations in the agricultural and residential zones. So, we have a state RSA, we have our own zoning ordinance, we have the master plan. It all points to controlling density. And so, my question is, and you gotta help me figure out how we get you there. How, when all of these documents sort of oppose exceeding the density that's specified in the ordinance, how are we still maintaining, consistency with the spirit of the ordinance?
So, let's take a couple steps back on this here. When you walk through and all those things that you're looking at there, okay, that is in your master planning of your town. That does not talk about an agricultural zone that is across the street from a 24-hour tow company. What you just stated, sir, is that I can't ask for any variance in the town. Master plan doesn't want any. Doesn't want any extra density, doesn't want any extra buildings, you literally just said that. Because every single master plan in zoning restricts all the things that everybody comes to you for every single month.
Right.
So you just make a statement that says, I don't see how we can give any variances for anything.
That is very true.
Not
So,
entirely.
I mean,
It's-
we're
that's-
here to ask you for variance. In lieu of going through town warrant and rezoning the property, and I've owned the property for 15 years, and prior to my ownership, it was held for 30 years. So it's been almost 50 years, and I hold the belief that this is improperly zoned. For the only fact that I have not presented to the planning board and put it on the town warrant to have this rezoned. That's why we're here before the board to ask for these variances.
So when let's continue, you were at 674-17, but you have to go then to 674-34 in the powers of the zoning board. Okay, so, and I understand you have to read each one, and you can go down rabbit holes for days. I mean, this thing, as you just got the new copy of it, changes every year, we try to keep up on that. So you're reading specifically from the purpose of zoning ordinance, and you just picked out one that says to lessen construction on the streets, congestion on the streets. Well, then you flip to, 674-33, and the zoning board just shall have the power to hear and decide appeals, and this is how you do that. And you have to determine if the 5 criteria I laid out make sense. That's why we're here. So if you're saying, no, I think every agriculture in town should be set up with 3-acre zoning and a duplex is it, that's your belief. But that's not what the zoning, that's not what the relief for me asking was supposed to let me do. If there was an agricultural out by, I just came today for TRC for the sports zone. If I was trying to put something next to that, well, that's in a weird spot out in the middle of Goffstown Back Road. Seriously, like how's all that gas station? Why is there a gas station on Goffstown Back Road? I don't want to put residential right next to that there, so I'm probably going to ask for some waivers or variances to do that. But your zoning and your master plan, it never contemplated a gas station on Goffstown Back Road. So you have, you have to interpret, this is what you're allowed. You're given more powers on the zoning board than planning boards and that kind of stuff. Planning boards have to follow the regulations. You guys have to determine if the request that is being asked is a reasonable request and fits in the area. If you don't think this unique parcel, which I'm hearing from 2 of you, that's your belief. I like that.
Well, I haven't gotten to the unique part.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying just put that to come back to agricultural. Like you just said, it's agricultural, so it should be like, we're allowed to put a duplex, we just don't have the acreage on one of them. We have the 3-acre, like this here could be that right there. That could go there, allowed by law. If we tore down the historical house, that could go there right now today. No variances. So all I'm asking is to mimic the exact same thing on the other side. Like I hear where you come from, but that's, you're going down to just certain things where you have a master plan. No, you can utilize all those, absolutely. But you also have to use common sense is what this is, and that's why there's appeals and stuff like that, and that's why we ask it. This is not black and white. This is our arguments make sense for what we're trying to do here. And does this use make sense on this piece of property specifically? Again, over a single family home. That's what we're talking about here. Putting a single family home on lot 26-1 or a duplex. I don't know how that's overcrowding.
So, Andrew, I think what you're saying is that you feel like the zoning is not appropriate.
It's not, and in my opinion, and it's in lieu of going for a rezoning, I'm before the board tonight in January to ask for the variances that we presented to you. And I do think that the parcel is very unique. It is an extremely heavily traveled road. I mean, it's not in a neighborhood, I'm not trying to cram these buildings into a neighborhood that has an established aesthetic appeal, lot size similarities, frontage similarities. You know, I've owned it for 15 years. I lived on either side of this building. I've lived there before. I know how busy it is. I've been a Goffstown resident for 38 years. I've been here my entire life. I'm very familiar with this, and I'm sure everybody else here is familiar with where this is. And I will not be convinced otherwise that this is not a very unique parcel of land, and that I do believe, if pushed, I would be rezoning it.
What would you try to rezone it to?
Residential 1, I
R1.
mean, R1. I don't want to go down that avenue. I don't want to wait till 2027 and put it on the town warrant that we're all voting on next Tuesday, next year. I stand behind our arguments. I care a lot about this town. I grew up here. I grew up right down the road over there on First Ave. My kids at Maple Ave right now. I care a lot about what is put here and what it looks like. One of the concepts that we did not present to the board was kind of what they're doing over at Dearborn, is a big parking lot with a horseshoe of 3 buildings, and I shot it down immediately. I don't want it to look like an apartment complex down there. I want these to look like individual buildings with their own yards and their own space. And that's the truth. And I do think the best argument is the zoning. Within, one of my butters is on a 1/4 acre. I'm not even asking for that. And there's another, you know, these lots, there's another one that's in the agricultural district right on New Road, that's a 1/4 acre. You know, I think, and if you're reading through the ordinances, I do think we're in the spirit of where we are. I don't think it makes sense if I was trying to do this on, you know, a cul-de-sac road and cram in 3 buildings or 2 buildings now. I agree with you 100%. That wouldn't be appropriate, and I wouldn't go for it either. But I think given these circumstances and the location, you know, I do think it's reasonable what we're asking for here.
Our challenge is, among other things, that somewhat contrary to Matt was saying, there are limits to what our authority is. And there's, you know, we have this municipal guide, it helps us, and it says, the legislative body, in passing the ordinance and map, has already decided what zoning controls it believes to be the best for the municipality, and has determined what restrictions will be applied. The Board of Adjustment must act within the limits set by the ordinance and map, and cannot enlarge, restrict, or disregard these limits. The Board of Adjustment cannot be given legislative powers. It cannot do anything that would in effect be rezoning. Effectively, what you're asking us to do.
Well,
I mean, maybe I didn't
your board
choose
does
my-
that every single month.
I mean, maybe I didn't choose my words correctly. I mean, I basically, what I was saying was, in lieu of going through these extra mechanisms to rezone it, I think we've laid out a very solid, substantial argument. I still stand behind what we did in January, to be honest. I probably shouldn't say that, but I took a building off to try to help it with the density issue, and make it more palatable for the board.
So just to add into that piece, you know, one of the things that I fall back on when I'm thinking about these things is that the role, as explained to me, is that we're kind of the common sense buffer between what's reasonable and where, you know, what's fair to the town and what's fair to the person who's coming to us. So I think that the way they've explained the hardships, I find that valid. And I also appreciate the fact that listening to what we said and the concern of the density that was had by removing that building has addressed a lot of that. And you know, having people in the town that are willing to work, you know, to try to satisfy everybody is something that we should be looking at as well, as a reasonable response to what they're asking for.
And if I can follow up on that again, is I am a member of the community, I'm a member of the town. I care about I didn't just buy this last year and trying to cram buildings on here. I've owned it for 15 years, I've lived there before. I had it surveyed, as Matt said, back in 2020. And, you know, the reason why I came before the board is because I own another property up on Blackbrook Road. And I had a tenant turnover back in June, and I was blown away by the amount of people, young professionals, empty nesters that are looking to downsize, that were in need of housing. I mean, it wasn't just a newsreel or a stat anymore, which, you know, until you actually see it, is what I kind of believed. Everybody says it, but it was true. And so that's why I wanted to present these buildings as adequate housing for the town, for young professionals, for empty nesters, for young families, you know, who can't afford to go buy Lamontang's $600,000 row house. You know, I mean, that's why I am here, honestly.
Charlie, did you have some
Yeah,
more? Go ahead.
yeah, one more. Matt, you talked about this property being north of Mast Road, south of the river, has municipal water, it's oriented, wetlands, has a single-family dwelling in ADU.
Are we,
well,
are we talking, which parcel
well,
are we
this is-
talking about?
well,
The vacant one?
Well, this is
or the-
one, I think we're on,
We're on
Talking about the
19-1.
vacant lot. with
oh,
the-
this is vacant,
See if it'd be single
okay.
duplex.
Two separate but abutting lots for, on record, common ownership. If I'm, Matt, if I'm given license to apply as many attributes as I want, I can describe every property on the face of the earth as being unique. And unique is not the same thing as some special condition or property characteristic. So you mentioned, hang in there, Matt. You said that there were some things that, and I want to understand what they are, because it's not all of these. Like this, things that are unique are not necessarily special conditions of the property. That's two different things. And you kind of jump from one to the other in the next paragraph. So what are those things that are special conditions or property characteristics in some combination that prevent it from being used in the way it's permitted by the ordinance or within our authority to grant a variance?
So one of the things that the Supreme Court has come back to on the uniqueness of lots, last Wednesday I was in Merrimack. The argument to the zoning board was just that our lot was 4.9 acres in size and the abutting lots were all 1 acre. And that makes it a unique lot because of the size of it compared to the surrounding lots.
You've got,
So there's nothing, you know, there's nothing really, it's, like I said, this lot here has floodplain on it. This lot here has wetlands on it. This lot here is located between 3 different districts. All those things can make it unique. It's not, it doesn't have to be purple hair and nose rings and this. It doesn't have to be so crazy that it's unique. It's just, is this lot different? And if you look at the lot across the street that's dual zoned, it's different from that. If you look at the quarter-acre zone that's a frisbee throw from this, that has a single house, it's different than that. That's what makes us unique.
it doesn't need to be unique, it has to have a special condition.
No, it has to be unique. That's the same thing.
Is it the same thing?
Yes. Yep. Special conditions or circumstances
Yep.
That's
that
important.
distinguish it from other properties in the area. Special conditions are anything from zoning, from wetlands, from slopes, from the size of the lot. I mean, what else do you think special conditions are? I guess is what I'm asking you.
I'm asking you.
No, but I mean, I just gave you what I told you they are. What else could I say could be a special exception to a lot? In Goffstown, like, what else could make it different than any other lot?
I'm asking you what the special
And I
conditions
told you
are.
what they were.
I think
Okay.
that
Well,
his
just saying you
answer
don't-
is,
Okay.
he's answered the question.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes, sir?
So, looking at section 2.3.2 of the zoning ordinance, it describes the agricultural district as a mixed-use district established to accommodate residential developments at low densities in rural settings, together with agricultural, forestry, et cetera, uses on large lots, et cetera. Now, looking at the table of dimensional regulations, 4.3, the agricultural zone as a base district has a minimum lot size of 2 acres, which this property has less than 2 acres. So you would therefore probably any,
No, it's an existing non-conforming,
grandfathered.
existing
Okay.
non-conforming lot is allowed to pull a building permit today on
I
it.
wasn't going to say that you weren't, but I was going to say. This
We wouldn't have to
makes
come
it-
back for a variance, right?
Okay.
It was a
The
grandfather.
star is the little asterisk on there is the star, quote unquote, star of the show. It's because on the table, that asterisk means that because it's less than 3 acres, there has to be a, variance because otherwise it falls into section 4.3. So that's the difference.
What I was going to get at is, I was just going to say, this lot is already smaller than what current regulations are going to be, and so I was going to ask about if our idea of density has changed over the years from when these lots were set, and if we're, if one of the conditions that this lot finds itself in is, if the lot were to have been drawn up today, it's already smaller. And so that, seeing that maybe are we having a requirement for this zone of larger acreage than used to be required?
So I would say that, and Matt and I'm sorry, I forgot your name, Andrew. If you want to respond, I'll let you, but I would say that falls into the deliberation side and the discussion side here.
Okay.
Because now we're talking about an opinion about the rule.
Okay.
Obviously, their opinion is they need it changed. So,
Yeah.
anything else from the board? Yeah, go ahead.
I would only add to what's been said before. We do recognize on the part of the owner the compromise that's been reached here. I think this plan that was returned was a much better plan than we were presented with initially, and we do recognize the attempt to come to something that would accommodate the board. So, again, just that is appreciated. That is not often the case here, but
Again, I'm connected to the property, I've owned it for a long time, I'm a town resident. Again, I care about what this looks like. I'm not trying to just slam a
well,
building in there.
it's
to slam a
obvious.
building
You're
in there.
trying to work with us,
Yeah.
and that's appreciated.
Right.
All right. Then, gentlemen, I'll ask you to step back. Is there anybody from the public who'd like to speak specifically on this hearing? So 19-1. I'll ask you to step up, address yourself to the mic, let us know who you are, and where you're from.
Like Bolver, 51 Henry Bridge Road. I'm not quite across from him, but down the road just a little bit from him, but across the property that he's not doing nothing with. I mean, I'm opposing it, but I wish he would just put one big house up or whatever size house he wants. That would be my opinion on that. I don't want to see it, but I'm not going to fight it, and I'm not going to, that would be my opinion, is putting one big house up, or whatever. And I mean, keeps the property clean, I'll give him that, and he cleaned it up from who the people were that owned it before. So I'll give him that too, but that's just my opinion on that. Thank you.
If
Yes,
I could
sir.
ask one thing, Mr. Wood. Here, is your concern with that when you say prefer one big house? Is it density? Is it traffic? Can you identify
Well,
what your concern is with it?
I guess
Or
probably
is it rental?
it's the rental thing more than anything, so that's all,
All right, well, thank you.
I don't have to worry like other people have to worry. I'm like a little ways away, you know, so it's, that's about it.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next, please.
On Duval, 237 Mass Road, Duval's Towing Service. As I said before, I think the traffic is a big concern down there. People come and all that. And when I was first told about this, it was a one house. Now it's a complex. As you all know, we're a 24/7 operation down there. We're in and out of there all the time.
Okay.
I just want you to take concern about that. I'm concerned about the complaints that you're probably gonna get. Well, this board may not get it, somebody else is gonna get it. But, you know, if you're gonna start renting out, you're gonna have children. That's,
So I can understand your point, but at the same time, if there was a large family house there, there could be children there as well.
I agree, but you only got, you know what I mean? You got one big yard, not several yards.
Okay,
Okay?
Reasonable.
You've got two houses that he wants put up, plus the one that's already there.
But wouldn't that be more of a liability toward the owner if somebody looks and sees your impound yard across the way and said, I'm not renting there across from a truck lot?
That's, I have to agree with you on that too. That's up to, you know, whoever rents it.
But
Yeah.
again, that would be up to them to look
yeah.
across the way and
Oh, yeah.
see what they're getting into.
Exactly. But, you know, there are times where we're probably not down there. But these guys, my men they start at 1:30 in the morning in the summertime. Different time levels, so they're always down there making noise. And the towing is in there, like tonight, they're probably gonna be in there a lot. You know, and the lighting, we have people's cars in there. They're in our care and custody. That's why the lighting is in there.
Thank you, sir.
okay. Oh, hold on, I'm sorry,
Oh,
sir.
I'm sorry, there's some more
We
questions.
have one question.
Oh, are there, with the existing property, dwelling units on the applicant's property, are there existing issues with complaints towards your business in terms of the operating hours, the
Right
lighting,
now, I
the
have no
sound?
complaints.
Have there been any issues with the traffic regarding this property as compared to others?
Oh, I can't answer that. You know what I mean? I'm looking ahead here. Okay? At the last meeting, there probably would have been, rough guess, 12 families, plus the other two. So you're looking at 14, but he cut some back, which is fine. But I just think one big house, that's how it was brought up to me a long time ago, so. But,
Any other questions? All right, sir, thank you very much.
okay.
Wayne Saperka, 68 Henry Bridge Road. It doesn't fit in the agricultural district, it goes against all your rules, so that's all I've got to say.
Good.
If I remember correctly, you came up the last time this applicant was here,
Yep.
and you had concerns that a proposed unit of this construction infringed upon your property. Is that?
No, the property survey is not correct, but it's being worked on, and I will address it. He's not getting away with taking my land.
Anybody else? Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Gentlemen, want to come back up and address the board?
I don't have much more to add. It just want to put something out there that seems to me that my client's getting picked on for what he's trying to do when across the street has a 24-hour full light. You want to go through the zoning regs right there? Tell me what his lighting intensity is allowed to be at midnight. 0. Like, we have a hardship on this lot with what's across the street, and yet these people can sit back there and do stuff that's not allowed on the industrial and the agricultural district, have lights on till 12 o'clock at night, have somebody just told me he's gonna be there at 1:30 this morning. That's not allowed in that zoning ordinance that you guys have right there. But this little gentleman's allowed to do it, and you're listening to him over my client putting something reasonable on site. That's frustrating.
I just to add, hold on, just to add one thing though, I wouldn't necessarily say thinking like him over you or otherwise, right? We have to listen to the to the people who are coming up.
Yeah.
But your questions to him, I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Yeah, I just want to make a comment. I have no problem at all with Don, never did. I appreciate his business. He's been in business in town for, I don't know how many years, 40 plus years. I've never complained. I don't think my tenants ever have complained. And to what I called Don actually about a couple weeks ago, we spoke over the phone, to kind of address some of his concerns about my tenants possibly calling, and I told him that we would put language into the lease, like you had stated, about just recognizing that there is a 24-hour operation across the street here. So that language would be in the lease. Obviously, people would be well aware of that before they rented the property. So I just wanted to do that. And actually, the reason why my backhoe is over there now, and Don even knows it, Don's the one that towed it over there. You know, I have nothing bad to say about Don Duval or Mike Bogart whatsoever. I both reached out to them personally and told them exactly what I was trying to do here. I tried to address any and all concerns that they might have. I do understand and appreciate what they both said. I still stand behind what I'm proposing here 100%.
Wonderful.
Can I ask additional
Sure.
questions?
So, something that's come up tonight, came up the last time, is the concern about the traffic. Now, you have lived at this property, you've had the tenants at this property, you've been there for 15 years. With the current situation of the one unit and the ADU, have there been concerns about the people who are on your property?
No.
With whether they're coming in or out? Have they had concerns about the oncoming traffic, the traffic
No,
across
there's a
the
line of
way?
sight, again, that Matt had brought up. We moved the driveway for line of sight after we sat at the CTR meeting and heard from the police department and the fire department. Obviously, police always sit over there. We welcome that on Don's lot. I mean, obviously, everybody probably has always seen them over there. The one thing I want to address with traffic is I don't want to be penalized for it being a high traffic corridor. And my point is this: there's 46 units or 47 houses going in on Acorn Drive. How are they going to get to the grocery store? How are they going to fuel their car? They're going to traverse Henry Bridge Road. So you have 47, so the board should be contemplating the impact on my land for every development that is approved. Because if they want to go to Hannaford, they want to go to Market Basket, they're going to drive down Henry Bridge Road. You got 46 houses going in on Acorn Drive. I have no problem with that. I'm not here to complain about whatsoever. I just want to make the argument holistic that I should not be penalized by the high traffic volume on Henry Bridge Road that is outside of my purview as a landowner because of the growth of the town, you know, and that should be considered.
And that brings us back to the point that you brought about the uniqueness of the property as well. I mean, that's what we've kind of been harping upon, is where it's located in the town.
And to follow up on that, you don't foresee any issues with increased number of cars in that sort of, in this area?
I mean, I could understand if I was opening a coffee shop and people were stopping in, you know, daily in hundreds of cars. It is 4 units, 4 dwelling units total, 8 cars, 2 per domicile. You know, normal traffic hours, going to work, coming back from work. I mean, I personally plow that driveway, and it is an absolute nightmare to try to plow the driveway, I'll admit. And I'm probably arguing against my own self right now, but it's a high traffic corridor. And I don't feel like I should be penalized by not being able to develop or progress with this project because of that.
Yeah, this project here with being duplexes is not, like you said, or like a coffee shop and stuff like that. We run typically our traffic memos on something like this. This would have less than a 1% impact on Henry Bridge Road. You just don't see the traffic from a residential. You'll have people leave in the morning, and quite honestly, right now, the new office we just moved into, half the people work from home 3 days a week now, it seems like, too. Our parking lots aren't full, so there's a lot of people that don't travel as much on our single-family home, so.
Yeah, and I recognize that a lot of the arguments against your case has been the traffic coming out of your driveways.
Yeah.
But my questions that I'm concerned about and just want to make sure that you're not concerned about is the people that will be living there, will they be safe coming out of the driveway with the existing traffic?
I believe so, again, to re-hark on the fact that we moved it up, so that bend coming around and obviously coming down the hill, there is a clear line of sight coming down the hill.
I would say that as far as that goes, they've done their best to try to fix that situation. That a traffic concern like that goes to a different department.
That's planning board purview, and that's not
Yeah.
anything within our jurisdiction.
Anything else? Okay, thank you, gentlemen. I'll ask you to step back. I'll close the public hearing. We'll enter deliberation.
We are on 19 point, or dash 1.
19-1, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the vacant lot with the single duplex.
Yeah, the first paragraph.
Yes, okay. This one still references,
Yeah, you can tell there was some cut and paste from
Right.
the original
Yeah, okay.
application, so.
So I'll add a couple of things. So as we were going through and listening to everyone's things, discussions and points, I had written down that I agreed that they shouldn't be penalized by the traffic because that's not something that's really in their control. And if this was a 8-floor apartment mass, that's a different discussion, but that's not what we're dealing with here. I mean, there's conceivably less cars, I would say, with a duplex like this than there might be for a 6-bedroom family house. So I think that part is very reasonable. I also think that Mr. Duval kind of made the hardship even more prevalent from his argument, because it's not fair to these guys to be restricted. Like, you can't do anything because this one's here. Well, that's not fair either. Like, we have to come to a fairness for everybody here. And I think that there were some valid points made about the other uses in the area that really, that adds to in my mind, the unique setup of the property.
Well, following up on what Jason said, I think too, it's kind of like it with rentals, it's kind of a caveat emptor. If somebody comes in and they're looking for a rental, they've got to open their eyes and look around and look at what's across the road, and I can see that being a bigger liability, on the owner than anything else, because it may be something that would deter rentals or perhaps depress the rental price. So, again, I'm pleased that there was apparently a good faith attempt to do this. And the other thing I think we need to remember too here is we're dealing with these lots singly. Whatever arguments we're talking about with the other lot, with the existing house and the ADU, we need to put those aside and just consider this single arguments on this single lot.
and I think that tenants are going to be a lot less bothered by lights across the street than somebody who's going to spend nearly $1 million for a house.
Well,
Tenants are just less discriminating.
well, I would also say that if I was going to spend $1 million on a house, I'd be now concerned about a lighted business across the
Right,
street. That would
exactly.
make me consider to not buy that.
Right.
So
Right.
now that introduces a completely different hardship. So we keep dancing into the same square. I don't know if that made sense, but it made sense to me. Anyone else? We have motion, further discussion.
I would make a motion. Can I, as the voting alternate, can I make the initial?
Yeah, yeah.
motion? Okay.
Yeah, you're a regular member of the board right now.
So I would.
Just make sure when
Yeah.
you go through that, you
I'm
gotta
gonna go
address
through the 5 criteria.
Thank you.
So I would move that we grant the variance that has been requested by the applicant on lot 19-1. I believe for the following reasons, that granting the variance will not be contrary to the public interest, as the applicant has stated in many different ways. The increased housing supply of this duplex, this single duplex on this one lot is it would have been allowed if the acreage was larger. That's why I asked some of those questions. And it's consistent with the spirit of the ordinance because the ordinance itself would have allowed such a building unit on this lot if the lot was just a bit larger. But there are constraints, which gets into a different section. Granting the variance would do substantial justice, as looking at the fact that I don't see a gain to the general public that is outweighed by denying it, based on that being the Supreme Court has said that any loss to the individual not outweighed by a gain to the general public is an injustice. I do not see a general gain to the public by denying this request on 19-1. I don't see any reason why, based on the evidence provided, that the values of the surrounding properties will be diminished. We have arguments in favor of it maintaining or possibly slightly increasing abutting property values. And I do believe that literal enforcement of the ordinance would result in an unnecessary hardship, again, because of the conditions of the property, with the wetlands, with the other properties across the street, down the road, and the fact that if this lot was all just a bit bigger, it would have been allowed by right to have this duplex.
Okay, so motion to allow with the stated reasons. Is there a second?
Second?
Oh, all right. Charlie, it'll be alternate length. So Charlie's got the second. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. You have your variance for 19-1. On to the second item. This is going to sound like a repeat, but Andrew Cassidy, owner, and Shaughnessy Allard PLLC, Brent W. Allard Esquire, applicant, are seeking 3 variances to allow for multifamily on a lot located within the agricultural zone. The first variance being requested is to allow the multifamily use, whereas it is not permitted per section 3.11-A-3, the table of principal uses of the Goffstown zoning ordinance. The second variance requested is per section 4.3, the table of dimensional regulations of the Goffstown zoning ordinance, as the proposed total number of dwelling units will exceed the maximum allowed number of dwelling units per buildable acre, which is 0.8. The third variance is required per section 5.14 of the Goffstown zoning ordinance, as the structures will not have the required public sewer system and will be serviced by on-site septic systems. The project proposes constructing 1 2-unit duplex on the lot in addition to an existing single-family residence with accessory dwelling unit. The property is located at 40 Henry Bridge Road, map 26, lot 19, zoned agricultural.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Matt Peterson again, Keach Nordstrom Associates, for the second variance in front of the board tonight. Do you want me to read the same arguments here? What do you want to just know? Yeah, let me go through some of the things that are different, obviously. With
let's go through the
because this one has
differences.
a single-family home, so there are a couple extra things that were added. So this one now needed 3 variances, unlike the other one there, because with the single-family home and the ADU, and then a duplex, that bumps us into the multifamily, and then that requires sewer on the property. So there were 3 variances that were required for this one here. Number 1, to allow the duplex in the agricultural district, which was the same variance that was just granted for the abutting property. The second one is 4.3, which is the maximum number of dwelling units per buildable acre, which is 0.8. And then section 5.14, no public sewers. So just to kind of go through, the board recall the applicant recently appeared before us on the application retain the existing single-family dwelling in ADU and construct the 3 duplexes. We now have just the 1 extra duplex that we propose on this. As far as the density goes, under section 4.3 of the zoning ordinance, the maximum of 0.8 dwelling units per buildable acreage is allowed for a duplex and multi-lots. Lot 19 has 0.96 of buildable acres. So we need a variance to allow to put the duplex and the single family on that lot that is there. The criteria that changed slightly on this one, obviously, is that this is an existing residential house that we spoke about last meeting, that this was the old, not Grassmere district, this was a, there was a second one, was it still Grassmere?
It was part of Grassmere.
It was part of Grassmere. So, you know, at the time, we would like to keep the existing house on the property there. It does put extra stock in the market in Goffstown. There is somebody living there currently, and it's set up to be able to put the 2 on this. Again, we have town water here, so we do not have to take out the well radiuses for that. We also have 3 acres, which is more than adequate to handle the septic flow for what we are proposing on site that is here tonight. I mean, it's kind of the same stuff we talked about on the lot here. From that, I don't think I need to go into each one really, kind of have a discussion with the board if you'd like, and hear the abutters on that property that's there.
Does anyone have any questions on this one?
A few questions. I know that you've said it before, since we had so much discussion, it's kind of left my mind, I do apologize.
Okay.
Can you reiterate why heading further into Henry Bridge Road, that part of the property is not developable, just so that we can have that in mind, and I can be clearer again as to why we can't work with that part of the property, this area right here.
So, we could locate the duplex down here. It is allowed, it's in the building setbacks, it's not in the floodplain, but you'd be coming down the slope here, you'd be crossing the wetlands taxes here. Didn't seem to make sense. Obviously, we go to the Conservation Commission, we can get the right to cross that, we're allowed to access our buildable land. But this lot sits up, where we can put it up to this location here. It fits in the location we have here, the septic system fits. We stay away from the wetlands, we stay away from the buffers, we stay away from the 100-year floodplain. And what's kind of nice is if you've driven Henry Bridge Road here, it's nice not to see houses maybe as we come, and every house gets developed here, so it leaves a very nice view shed as you come around the corner, which I think looks nice as you come up the hill and come around the corner. So it made sense to us to put it on the high side of the lot, even though it is allowed on that downside there. It has more constraints, more environmental impacts, more impacts to the property that this one does not.
So if you had worked down there, it would have had additional hardship in terms of building, in terms of permitting, with state and local regulations?
Yes, we probably would have utilized or tried to utilize this drive that kind of comes down but then stops and didn't make it all the way through the wetlands. So obviously at one point people were traversing through the wetlands on this here. But again, we try to minimize the impact to wetlands as much as we can. I also know this area very well as I lived on Main Street here in the 90s, and the flooding that comes from the backside of the dam sometimes there, it's kind of always good to be a little bit above things in my opinion.
Just a quick question. I didn't know. So is the driveway for this one being moved, or is it
Yes.
already moved?
No. So we are proposing, so currently the driveways are over here, we're proposing to move it about 20 feet to the east. It was a recommendation at TRC with DPW when we'd sat down,
Okay.
just to give it a little bit better sight distance
I
there.
appreciate that. Thank you. Charlie?
No, I think I understand it.
Okay. Len?
Go around one more time. I'm still formulating.
David?
Yeah, a couple things. One thing I forgot in the last one and just remembered is on this page, it's not numbered, unfortunately. What are these
Yep.
parts right here?
Those
They-
were proposed septics. I
Okay.
wanted to show that they could be, the lot could handle a septic, so I had our septic designer in-house put
Okay.
together a plan on that.
And so I guess that gets into my other question. I was going to ask if the septic system was going to be shared, which I think was planned last time, and now.
There were
So
some
you're going
shared
to-
ones now, there would just be one for each duplex and one for the house with an ADU. So there'll be a share of the two and two, but not shared without, outside
Okay.
the own building. There'll be one tank outside that'll go to a field.
Perfect, because one of my concerns was if the owner was ever to sell one of the lots but not the other, if there was shared septic, I was gonna ask how that was going to work, but you don't need to.
You got more?
Not at this time.
Charlie?
Out of rain power.
All right, oh, you're ready now,
Well,
okay.
yeah, my concern, like we had the last time around, with this one is the density. Specifically, what is the hardship or what justifies going over and above when we already have an existing dwelling unit and an ADU on site? What is the hardship to justify a second residential unit?
As we stated at the last hearing there, we were trying to keep the existing character coming down Henry Bridge Road with the existing house that was on there. Again, based on the zoning size of 2 acres and stuff like that, we felt that we had 3 acres on this lot here. We're actually over the 3 acres by about another acre. We have another 0.8 acres on top of it. So we had almost 4 acres. And if you look at the agricultural zoning, it's 2 acre zoning. So again,
But
I'm
you're
not
all-
trying to stretch the limits here.
But your own application says you only got like .96 buildable. I'm reading off here, which is where we get the .8 dwelling units per acre calculation.
That's a good pickup, actually. Why did they say 0.96
Here,
buildable acres?
we have second paragraph on, second or third page, it says .96 buildable. And with that calculation, with that amount of buildable, you only get .8.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to tell you, that's not correct. It's not .96 buildable acres. I mean, currently, right now, the buildable is from the wetland, that, and then it's that, so, I don't have that right number for you on there. I'm guessing that that's .96 of non-buildable on lot. Makes more sense to me what's out there from the wetlands that went through there.
Well, that's one
Yeah,
of
I'm
those
sorry, I
things
don't have that.
I was wondering if the .96 came because you had carved out that lower part of the land as not
Not using
feasible,
it, yeah.
and therefore they calculated what remained.
That's what it's
But I
looking
don't
like to me.
know,
Well,
I
I'm
don't know
just-
the calculation of that remaining area.
And just reading, due to wetlands and corresponding buffers and slopes in excess of 25%, you've got .96 buildable. Again,
Yeah, I don't, but I can't answer that right here on you, Matt.
so how do, again, there may be
can take
more,
it
but I
back
think
with
we
that
need
answer.
better information to be able to make a,
Yeah.
I would have to ask to continue and come back with that answer for you.
I think we need that, I think we need that information to make a decision, because if
4 units on less than 1 acre, I don't know.
I see where you're going with, I mean, I totally understand that. I didn't write, unfortunately, attorney's on vacation with the family because he came to my meeting last Wednesday and left on Friday to go with his family, so he missed this one. So I'm trying to follow through, but that's my bad.
we would like to resolve this, but I don't think we can resolve this
No,
without
I
a
can't
correct
right here.
calculation of what you really have on that lot that's buildable.
I saw something.
Which especially with the extra units and your concern on the previous application, I would like to have real numbers for you.
And we would like to see real numbers, thank you.
I would request then, Mr. Chairman, if we could continue this to next meeting.
Do we have a motion for continuance?
I would move to continue.
Move to continue.
Second.
Second from Len. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So
I
we will
appreciate
continue
that.
this to the
And I will get that
next-
information before I come to the meeting to staff.
And
Alright.
just to
Thank you very much.
officially let you know, the next will be April the 7th. All right,
Thank you for your time tonight.
thank you.
Good night.
Seeing that she is still here, I will relinquish the chair back to our chair. Who is the chair of chairs.
That's okay, you can just stay there.
Oh, thank you.
All I'm gonna say is, great meeting. It's kind of interesting to just be able to watch everybody. Really great questions. Very impressed with the new board members really doing some research, educating themselves, and asking some good questions. I really appreciate that. Okay, anybody have any questions or comments? Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned. Thank you.